What's that third down name? Come on, man. What's the third down name? Third and Juwan, dog. Third and Juwan, come on.
The second-ranked San Francisco 49ers are ready to set off against the Seattle Seahawks at home. But a player that a lot of people are missing on is Jauan Jennings. And this guy is an absolute stud. I know we have the likes of Nick Bosa, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk to talk about, but Jauan Jennings is on a different level right now, and he really turns up when the games and the stakes are big. I mean, his nickname is literally Third and Jauan. And when you need those tough yards across the middle, you probably want to throw to him because he has such a huge catch radius. He's 6'4", his 40 time's not that great at only running a 4.73 40-yard dash. But what impresses me about Jauan Jennings is his ability to run routes. He runs them so crisply, and this is how he's able to get down the field deep often. And Jauan strictly isn't a receiver, he also blocks extremely well on the team. And often this draws fouls from the other team when they get just annoyed with how much effort Jauan's putting in each play. And the energy that Jauan Jennings brings is evident on the field and off the field. He really energizes the team around him, he hypes everyone up. He's really a team player that's just happy when the team's doing well, when the offense is scoring. He's not selfish by any means. I think that's what makes him such a great player on this team. And you really can't be selfish on the 49ers because you have so many weapons on the 49ers like Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle. And honestly, a lot of guys don't even consider Jauan Jennings a weapon, but I consider him a very good player that can make you pay if you don't pay attention to him. And he's shown this on third down throughout this year. He keeps converting these third downs. I don't know if it's other teams just not accounting for him, but he's running such crisp routes too. He has such good hands. He might have the best hands on the team. Brandon Ayuk has great hands too, but Jauan Jennings is right up there with him. And I think that Jauan Jennings' skill set pairs very nicely with Brock Purdy's skill set. For the first thing, he's a big wide receiver, and that's very helpful for any quarterback, but it's also extremely helpful for an accurate quarterback that can throw outside your frame so the DB can't get the ball, but you're the only one that can get it just because you have that size on someone. So think maybe a corner route in the end zone or a fade route, something like that. You can put it farther away outside so the DB can't break up the pass. And another aspect is that Brock Purdy likes throwing into the end zone, and that works great for a big wide receiver that has great hands because the end zone becomes kind of like a basketball match of a lot of boxing out, and bigger guys tend to win. That's why touchdowns from tight ends are pretty common, and that's why you've seen George Kittle get a lot of touchdowns recently. But I think that Jauan Jennings can fit kind of a tight end role in the wide receiver room into the slot, whereas a guy like Danny Gray can fit the speed element to the slot. Now that we've looked at Jauan Jennings and his role in the offense and maybe how this role may increase over time, I want to examine where Jauan Jennings' upbringing all started. Jauan Jennings was born July 10, 1997 in Cowan, Tennessee. Jennings was born into an athletic household, son of Angela Holman and Benny Jennings. Benny, Jauan's dad, was a 4-year letterman on the University of North Alabama's football team from 1987 to 1990. Benny Jennings was actually such a good football player, he earned a spot in UNA's Hall of Fame for football. Jauan Jennings went to high school at Blackman in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And if I said that name wrong, I completely apologize. But Jauan Jennings wasn't apologizing for what he was doing to defenses' backs, but he wasn't doing it as a wide receiver, he was doing it as a quarterback. In high school, his senior year, he completed 125 of 219 passes for 2,155 yards and 22 touchdowns. He was honored as a 2014 Tennessee Mr. Football Division I Class AAA. Combined with his other accolades and his just great ability to play football, submitted Jennings as a 4-star recruit. And Jennings committed to play at the University of Tennessee, where a position change was about to come. In all, Jennings played at the University of Tennessee from 2015 to 2019 under Butch Jones and Jeremy Pruitt. Jauan Jennings didn't hesitate to switch over to wide receiver, and his first year in 2015 is when he made the switch. And it proved to be fruitful for Jauan because he contributed as a freshman. He had 3 receptions for 56 yards in a Bowling Green game, and then he also showed off his arm throwing a 58-yard touchdown pass to Joshua Dobbs. In 2016, his stats were 40 receptions for 580 yards and 7 touchdowns. In 2017, Jauan Jennings unfortunately really didn't play at all that year due to a wrist injury. In 2018, Jauan Jennings appeared in 11 games and recorded 30 receptions for 438 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. In 2019, Jauan Jennings was a big factor. He finished his senior year with 59 receptions for 969 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns tacked onto that. That made his college totals 146 receptions for 2,153 yards and 18 touchdowns. And despite running a mediocre 40-yard dash at 4.473 seconds, Jauan Jennings was selected by the San Francisco 49ers in the 7th round of the 2020 draft with the 217th overall pick. And the San Francisco 49ers scouts need a big round of cheers because these guys are able to consistently find guys later in the draft, and it's amazing. They did it in Brock Purdy, Jauan Jennings, Fred Warner, George Kittle. These guys hit later in the draft. I just wish they picked the whole entire draft because I don't know who's doing the first stages of the draft, but there seems to be a lot of misses there. In 2021, this is where Jauan Jennings truly established himself as number 3 wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers. He had 24 receptions for 282 yards, averaging 11.8 yards per receptions, his longest one being 34 yards and having 5 touchdowns attached to that. And this year, his stats are 35 receptions for 416 yards, averaging 11.9 yards per reception, his long 44 yards and 1 touchdown this year. But I think Jauan Jennings is one of those players where if you just look at the stats, you're really missing a huge portion of his game. You need to look at him every single play, the amount of effort that he puts in. And in the running game, he's going to try to get after you and put you in the ground. And hopefully he gets a flag on you because he's actually does that quite often. He gets under the skin of players. I mean, think about Jalen Ramsey. Didn't he get under the skin of him 1 or 2 times? And that brings us to the current game, the Seattle game. Jauan Jennings may be needed in this game because it's scheduled to rain and rain quite frequently, or so I'm told, because it's actually sandwiched between 2 days that are going to be raining anyways, so I wonder how bad the field's going to be. I know they put a tarp over it and stuff like that, and the drainage has been well at Levi's, but it's just something to watch out for. But having Jauan Jennings in the running game, really putting it towards the corners for the Seahawks, might be a good thing for the runners to bounce outside, and really will show that just because Jauan Jennings might not be putting up the highest stats, he affects the games in so many other ways. And I think that's something that maybe as fans we need to appreciate a little bit more about some of these players that may not have the brightest stats. I mean, Eric Armstead, a lot of people hate on him, but he actually offers a lot for the interior of the defensive line, and his stats aren't always eye-popping, but he's able to affect the game in different ways. So since it's going to be raining this game, I'm going to have to slightly alter my prediction from last time. I'm going to say the 49ers are going to win 21-10. I think it's going to be closer just because it's the 3rd time these teams are facing each other. It's in the rain. The ball could get wet. Purdy doesn't have the strongest arm, so it's going to be harder for him to drive the ball down the field. And if turnovers happen, that could really even out the game. But I don't think that's going to be a problem with Jauan and everyone blocking. And Christian McCaffrey, I think, is really going to want to put up some big numbers in this game. And you don't even have to just rely on Christian McCaffrey. You have so many great running backs for the 49ers. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to drive the ball down the field effectively through your running game and really not have to rest too much on your rookie quarterback. This will be a nice experience for Brock Purdy if he doesn't have to be the one doing it all. I don't think just loading him up is going to be good for him, regardless of how good I think Brock Purdy is as an NFL player. But hey, those are just my thoughts on the San Francisco 49ers and Jauan Jennings. I'd like to hear your thoughts on Jauan Jennings and the San Francisco 49ers and the score predictions down below that you have. And please also like and subscribe to my channel. It helps out a ton. I'm really appreciative to everyone that's watched these videos.